So let's talk about the scenario around where you were invited to come check out Faith Community Fellowship.
All right. Well, it all stemmed back to my brother-in-law having season tickets to the University of Maine hockey games. And we used to go every once in a while, and we always sat in Section V there at the games. And there was always a couple that were sitting behind us that, there was a very nice couple, and I didn't know much about them. Actually, I didn't know anything about them. And we would, in between periods, we'd sit and we would talk, just talk, about anything. It was never anything religious, never anything about church. I didn't even know for the longest time that Bob was even a pastor, to be honest with you. And then one game with Saturday night, Bob just come out of the blue and was like, "Hey, sometime you ought to check out my church." And I'm like, "Yeah, maybe someday." And I'm kind of looking at him like, "Yeah, right, as if that's going to happen."
Let's talk about who invited you and how long it took for you to actually come. Okay?
Well, it was at the time my girlfriend Michelle Haslam who invited me here to come. Faith Community was down at the Down East YMCA at that point in time, and I think it probably took me roughly about a week, maybe two, to actually get the nerve up again to go to church.
I was an atheist, a very much non-believer, self-centered, only focused on myself. And anytime I was asked to come to church, I thought that was the funniest thing I'd ever heard. Why would anyone want me to come to church? Until I had a moment, life-changing moment, and then I pretty much invited myself, really, which did shock more than one person, and I've pretty much been here ever since.
Yeah, so how many times do you think you declined your mom's invitation to come to church?
I don't even dare to count. I don't.
Who initially invited you to come to church back in?
I always tell the story that it's Craig Cousins, and I'm almost positive it's Craig Cousins. My wife and I were working at Walmart. She was, I think, no, we'd already had Michaela. And Craig just kept inviting us to church. It was just something that Craig did. And to be honest, eventually it was just one of those things where it's like, fine, I'll come to church.
Okay, so how many times do you think he invited you? And you said, yeah, sure, before you actually came?
At least a handful, at least, I don't know, 5 or 6 at least, before I finally just cracked and said, fine.
All right, so tell me about your first invitation to come to this church now.
So I got invited to Community Fellowship in my 6th grade math class. I teach 6th grade in Blue Hill, and one of my students brought up that, well, a radio station at first, they were talking about K-Love, a couple of them, and I said, oh, I know that song, I listen to that station a lot, and then they were like, oh, well, I go to a really fun church, and you should come to my church. And then afterwards, Matthew Asbury came up to me and said, actually, I'm getting baptized this Sunday. Maybe you should come check it out. And I said, really, I would love to come see you get baptized. That would be amazing. So I did get to come, and that was my first experience ever at this church. I'd been church hopping for a while and looking for a place that felt right, with a great children's program. And it was really special, and I loved watching that special moment in his life. But I think it was really brave of him to invite me at a public school. It's not like it's a Christian school or anything, and so I was really glad he felt comfortable doing that, and I was really touched. So.
Why did you finally come?
If I were to be honest,
Yes.
well, at the time, at the time, it was so that Craig would leave me alone. But there was a little bit of us, I think, at the same time that wanted to go, but we didn't know where to go. We didn't know how to choose, and I don't think we knew at the time initially that the Staples were there. And once we did go, I think that feeling that I initially had quickly dissipated, because there were comfortable people here that we knew. And then there was the sermon that you did, but we won't.
What was the one takeaway from that sermon? I'm curious. Like, what was the one thing that stands out in your mind?
Tommy Boy.
What? Tommy Boy what?
You played a clip from Tommy Boy in the service. I don't remember the application. All I know is that it was Tommy Boy, and I was like, I'm here. We're done.
let's see. He might have invited me a couple of times, and each time I was kind of like, yeah, sure. I was like, someday you'll see me sitting in the audience. And then all of a sudden, one Sunday morning, I got myself up. I looked at Faith and I said, you know, I think we ought to go to church today. And she was kind of like, are you sure?
What caused you to come back?
Friendly. Everybody welcomed everybody in. There was no, well, you're this type of person or you're that type of person. There's none of that. No prejudice against anybody. Everybody was so friendly and likable.
I think it was funny. It was almost like the first time I sat here in the auditorium. It was almost like Bob was actually preaching that day, and it was almost like he was speaking to me, you know. And I don't know if it was that particular Sunday or if it was the next Sunday. Just he stirred something in me, and I was like, you know what? I have to accept Jesus again. I have to do this. And it was like an altar call or whatever you want to call it. And I stood up and gave my life to Jesus again after probably 20 years of not being in a church or near a church.
What would you say to encourage someone about, or is hesitant to invite someone to church?
Step out, ask, invite, put yourself out there, be humble, because they will, eventually the people, God is a funny way of straightening our messy lives right out.
It seems like such a trick question. Just do it. Just walk up to a person and say, "Come to church this Sunday with me." You know. Well, in all honesty, my first response would be, it's fun. You know, church isn't what you think it is anymore, especially here. It's not. It's fun. You know, it's building new relationships. It's I don't know. It's just fun. It's not boring anymore.
You've just got to go out there and do it and say, what are you doing on a Sunday morning? And if they say, well, nothing, well, here's a church that we go to, and invite them.
I would say just do it. The worst they can say is no. You know, like I said, I turned Bob, I don't want to say I turned him down, but I was just kind of like, yeah, sure, right, I'll be there. And I'm thinking, you know, I'm not really the churchy kind of person. Whether they are or not, you can't. It doesn't hurt to ask. It really doesn't.
Awesome.
It actually encouraged me to reach out to other people because I had a great experience accepting his invitation, and I thought, hey, maybe someone's just waiting to be invited. Well, it was scary for me to invite some people because I didn't want to seem pushy, and I didn't want to have that religious label. But then I was also like, maybe they're needing that little extra invitation. Maybe they'd like to come have coffee with me. Maybe they'd like to listen to music. And so I guess it was just being braver than you are scared, because God needs messengers. So I say go for it.